Hello, it's Thinking Time 14. I want to talk about how generosity can change our world and why it matters far more than most people realize. Because we often imagine the world changes through power, technology, politics, influence, and those things truly do shape society. But beneath all of them is something quieter that holds communities together. It's generosity. Not just generosity with money, which is important, but generosity with time, compassion, forgiveness, encouragement, patience, and attention. Because every day people are fighting invisible battles. You may be one of them. And sometimes one generous act becomes the thing that keeps someone going. And you can see this powerful in literature. We all know of the Christmas Carol with Ebenezer Scrooge, don't we? Because he begins the man closed off from everyone around him. He has wealth, but no warmth. He measures life by profit and loss. But when his heart changes, everything changes around him. And Dickens makes an important point. Generosity does not only rescue the poor, it also rescues the giver too. And Scrooge becomes a human again. And that's what generosity does. It reconnects us to each other. And you see the same idea in Les Miserables. At the beginning of the story, Jean Valjean is bitter, hardened, and hopeless after years in prison. But then a bishop shows him extraordinary kindness, and instead of condemning him for theft, he actually gives him his own silver candlesticks and tells Jean Valjean to become an honest man, which he does. Because one act of generosity changes the whole direction of Valjean's life. And what happened to Jean Valjean can happen to the rest of us too. Because what Valjean does, he spends the rest of his life passing that generosity forward to other peoples. And that's of course how generosity works. It spreads. And one act begets another one. One life influences another. One kindness creates a chain reaction. And honestly, our world desperately needs that right now, because we live in a culture that often rewards outrage, sarcasm, and self-interest. People are connected digitally, but often isolated emotionally, because many people simply feel unseen and unheard and unappreciated. But generosity pushes against that. A generous person listens when everyone else is distracted. They encourage instead of tearing down. They give credit instead of demanding attention. And they make room for each other to flourish. I'm sure you've done that from time to time, and others have done that for you. Because the remarkable thing is this: most world-changing generosity is ordinary. It's not usually dramatic. It's a parent working long hours for their children. It's a friend showing up when life falls apart. It's a teacher staying behind to help one student who's struggling. And it's someone choosing forgiveness instead of revenge. These small acts can make a big difference. They lead often to massive consequences. And the Bible puts it this way: a generous person will prosper. Whoever refreshes others will be refreshed. That's Proverbs chapter 11, verse 25. And that verse is not saying life becomes easy. It means generosity changes the atmosphere around the person. Because generous people bring light into dark spaces. And perhaps the greatest example we have here, of course, is Jesus himself. I mean, Jesus' life was built around giving time to the overlooked, giving compassion to the broken, giving dignity to the rejected, and ultimately giving his life for others. So, history has repeatedly shown that generous people leave the deepest mark upon the world. I'm sure you can think of various people, even in your own life, because it's not always the loudest people, it's not always the richest people, but it's the people who leave others stronger, calmer, wiser, and more hopeful than before. So here's the challenge. Are you ready for it? Ask yourself, what would happen if you, became just 10% more generous this week? Maybe even starting off with today. More generous with our words, more generous with our patience, more generous with our forgiveness, more generous with our encouragement, and more generous with our money. Because you never fully see the impact, but somewhere someone's life could be changed because you decided, instead of withholding, but to give. Let's pray. Lord, teach us to live generously. Help us to notice the needs around us and give what we can, whether that's in time, kindness, encouragement, wisdom, or practical help. Protect us from selfishness, protect us from indifference. Make us people who bring hope into the lives of others. And remember this, a generous life may not always make headlines, but it can quietly change the world. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.